Okay, my last question on the West Philippine Sea. What does the Philippines need to watch out for? There are more ships in the West Philippine Sea now, both from the Chinese Coast Guard, the Chinese Liberation boats. There's both civilian and there's Chinese Coast Guard vessels now there, and more in number. What does the Philippines need to watch out for in the presence of the number of ships? Because we've already seen China, build artificial islands right before our very eyes, right? Through the years, and the Philippines, it became way too late to act on it. So what should we watch out for moving forward?
Well, moving forward, first, we should strengthen our security relationship with like-minded states. We have a VFA, Visiting Forces Agreement, with the U.S., with Australia. Our reciprocal access agreement with Japan was recently ratified by Japan. We have signed a Visiting Forces Agreement with New Zealand, and we're negotiating one with UK and France, and maybe down the road with Canada. So we have to strengthen our security relationship with like-minded states. That's one. And we should invite all of them, the entire world, to sail in the West Philippine Sea, because every time they sail in the West Philippine Sea, they affirm the Arbitral Award. And of course, we should strengthen our Coast Guard and our Navy. We have really built up our Coast Guard in the last few years. We are considered to be one of the strongest Coast Guard now in ASEAN, and we should continue to do that, and also strengthen our Navy. And we should prepare really all these arbitration cases. So we have a lot to do, and we have not been doing that.
Exactly. So in other words, the victory was the first step, but the Philippines stopped at it. That's the problem, right? Huminto na tayo. Just because we got the arbitral award, we did not act on how to strengthen the arbitral award after.
Yes, because during the time of Duterte, he said the arbitral award is just a scrap of paper. And so we did not move. During the entire time, he said, pagdating sa West Philippines, inutil ako. He said that in the SONA. He told the entire Filipino people, I cannot do anything with respect to the West Philippine Sea. Well, that's over now, and the President Marcos Jr. said, we will defend every square inch of our territorial and maritime area in the West Philippine Sea. And so we should be doing this. And I think we should have, the most important thing is to get the gas in Reed Bank.
Yeah. It would even strengthen the Marcos legacy and his administration if he acts on your suggestions.
That's correct, Karen, because you have to give credit where credit is due. It was President Marcos Sr. who claimed, who fortified our claim in the Kalayaan Island group. He made it into a municipality, and he occupied Pag-asa, the second largest island. It was a bold move. Had he not done that, we would have no presence there now in the Spratlys. So the son now is the president, and it will be his legacy to cement further what his father has done. So, and I think that should be his outlook, that he has to add to what his father has built already.
Okay, all right. Okay, very interesting. Let's now move to another topic, the ICC arrest of former President Duterte and the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte. I want to ask you first, Senator Alan Peter Cayetano, I believe, filed a resolution or is filing a resolution pushing for the house arrest of former President Duterte. Is that even possible? And frankly, will it even matter when the ICC is jurisdiction of Duterte at this point? So what is this resolution all about?
Well, it will not matter, Karen, because the ICC has acquired jurisdiction over the person of former President Duterte. And for them, and they've already said that they have jurisdiction, and I think the request of the lawyers of Duterte for an interim release has been denied. So I think all of these resolutions in the Senate, in the House, will just amount to nothing. It's just noise for me. I mean, it will. They're just trying to play to the gallery, to the DDS people, but that will not influence at all the ICC.
No influence on the ICC, but very quickly, the request for interim release. I mean, we've heard both sides, pro and anti, regarding the interim release. Based on the ICC's track record, do you believe they will grant an interim release? Can they grant it?
Well, they can grant, but based on what they've decided in the past, they will not grant, because first of all, and they've already decided this. They consider former President Duterte a flight risk because he did not voluntarily surrender. In the cases that the ICC granted interim release, all of these who were granted interim release voluntarily surrendered. So they were never a flight risk. But Duterte up to now refuses to recognize the jurisdiction of the ICC. So he is really a flight risk. And he has the means because he has wealthy friends who can provide him with aircraft. So there's really no ground. And he will be a threat to the witnesses because he still has his death squad. He admitted before under oath during the proceedings in the Senate and the House that he organized the death squad. And he won as mayor of Davao City. So he has a political base. He has an office. So he still has the influence to threaten or to harm witnesses. And he even threatened to harm the ICC investigators when he was president.
Now, the issue of jurisdiction, right now, you have former President Duterte's defense team in arguments right now with the Office of the Prosecutor that the ICC still has jurisdiction over this case. So I've asked you about jurisdiction in the past, but it seems that they're also making strong arguments right now that the ICC no longer has jurisdiction over Duterte and the case based on the timing. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the ICC already ruled that it has jurisdiction, but they're filing another motion arguing again. But that is already settled. The ICC has jurisdiction, and it's very clear that they have jurisdiction. So I don't think that move by the Duterte lawyers will gain ground, will prosper at all.
Okay, because the argument of Duterte's defense team is the prosecution, and I quote this, must shoulder the responsibility for its miscalculated and untimely erroneous decision not to initiate an investigation within the designated time period. In other words, it's too late, did not act.
Well, that has been resolved already by the ICC. They're bringing it up again. And I don't think it will prosper. They have the right to file and refile, but it will all be ignored.
Okay. All right. Lumipat na po tayo sa Pilipinas, Justice CARPIO. Kasi ito na po ang inaantabayan. Matutuloy ba? Hindi ba matutuloy? Madidismiss ba? Hindi ba madidismiss? Pag-uusapan muna natin ang papel ng Korte Suprema. All right? Now, you being a Senior Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court has taken due course on petitions. There are petitions now before the Supreme Court seeking to dismiss the impeachment case against Vice President Duterte. Now, the Supreme Court is acting on these petitions. It's ordering the Senate and the House to submit details pertaining to the initiation of the case and the impending trial. Now, Representative De Lima is quite concerned that the Supreme Court is ordering Congress to submit details, considering the court is technically now in session, right? They've convened as an impeachment court. Tell me, Justice Carpio, what can happen with the Supreme Court's intervention? Would you consider this an intervention?
Well, the court can intervene at any time if it involves a constitutional issue. So the only constitutional issue pending now in the Supreme Court that matters is whether the House followed the 10-day session limit. In other words, from the time the first impeachment complaint was filed, it must be acted upon by the House plenary within 10 session days. And from the 10 session days, they have 3 session days to refer it to the Committee on Justice. That is the core of this dispute in the Supreme Court. This is the constitutional issue.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of fact whether the House acted on the first impeachment complaint within 10 session days. And in the reply of the House to the Senate Impeachment Court, reply to Sara Duterte's answer, they laid down the dates from the day that the first impeachment complaint was filed. How many session days? There were on the 10th session day. The fourth complaint was filed with the Secretary General, and under the Constitution, the moment at least a third of the House files a resolution that prevails over prior impeachment complaints if it is filed within 10 session days. In the case of Francisco, the case of Chief Justice Davide, the resolution of the House signed by 1/3 of the members was filed beyond the 10th session day, and that's why the Supreme Court said it cannot be done anymore. But this one was filed within the 10th session day. So that now automatically prevails over the first impeachment, the second impeachment, and the third impeachment complaint. So this is a factual issue. So that's why the Supreme Court asked for the dates. And all that the House has to do is to submit the dates, that everything was complied with under the Constitution. The 10 session days were complied with.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you this, your opinion. This was submitted July 8, 2025 to the Supreme Court. This is Sara Duterte in her capacity as Vice President. And in one of the enumerated issues here is letter D. As to the complaints filed by the private citizens, the basis and authority of the Secretary General to refuse the transmittal of the complaints for impeachment to the Speaker of the House for inclusion in the order of business within 10 session days from the time it was endorsed. So will there be... Is it possible that this would cause a problem?
No, Karen, because the Constitution says that the impeachment complaint must be included in the order of business within 10 session days.
Yeah.
That was complied with.
But not the first three.
No, the first one, because if you comply with the first one, you comply with the rest.
Is that right? Is that
So-
right? Is that understood?
Yeah,
Really?
because if it was taken, it was part of the order of business, the first complaint, then they would have included also the second and third on the 10th day. Because we're talking only of the first impeachment complaint here, because it's that will
Yeah.
now determine whether the 10 session days were complied with. If the 10 session days were complied with respect to the first complaint, then it would have complied also with the second and third.
Okay. All right. So now,
So that provision, the Constitution, was complied with according to the House, and that's what they submitted to the Senate in their
Okay.
reply.
All
That
right.
on the 10th day there was a House resolution signed by 1/3, and under the Constitution that will automatically prevail.
Okay, because part of the argument, the petition of the Duterte team is the number of session days that lapsed from
Yeah,
the time the complaints
so
were
it's
properly endorsed by a member of the
yeah, it's a question of it's a factual issue.
Yeah,
The
technicality.
No, it's a factual issue because the lawyers of Sara are saying that the 10 session days lapsed.
Yes.
The
Oo.
House
That they did
lawyers
not
are
even
saying
transmit.
that 10 session days did not lapse. They were on time. So it's just a question, it's a factual issue. That's why
Yeah.
the Supreme Court is asking, okay, so the House will certify. These are the dates of the
Okay.
session days. Because we're talking here of December. There were very few session days in December.
Okay. So ang tanong ko, if the Supreme Court makes a decision, Justice CARPIO, hypothetically, and says, okay, there's no infirmity here, so matutuloy yun. But what if the Supreme Court says there's an infirmity with the complaint itself, the process was not followed? What happens now to the Senate that has convened as an impeachment court? I mean, just by law. I mean, without
Well,
opinion, what happens?
The Supreme Court can only say that there's infirmity if there is a violation of the Constitution.
That's
And the
why.
violation will be that the 10 days lapsed.
Let's say they make that decision.
Okay,
What happens
if
to the
for
court?
example, the Supreme Court will say the 10 days have lapsed and they did not act on it, then we go back to San Francisco case. And in the Francisco case, the Supreme Court nullified the resolution that was signed by 1/3 of the House because the
Okay.
10 days lapsed.
Okay.
So if the 10 days lapsed, there's no problem. The resolution will be declared void. And by that time, if this is decided by, let's say, December of this year, the 1-year period would have lapsed. The House will just refile it.
Pero
Because
ang tanong ko, yung existing ngayon, because
Well, this one will, if the Supreme Court says that the 10 days period lapsed, then this impeachment court cannot convene.
Ayun, okay.
But what will happen is the House will just refile,
Yes.
and then
We were talking about, this is a hypothetical situation at this point. If the Supreme Court decides in favor of the Vice President's team, let's say saying that, yes, there was a lapse. So what happens to the impeachment court now that is convened? Justice, continue your thought.
yeah, if the Supreme Court will say that the 10 session day rule was breached, was violated, then this impeachment court will have to dissolve itself. They cannot continue.
They cannot continue. So the filing of another impeachment complaint, hypothetically, would only be allowed when? After 2025.
No, it's 1 year from the time of the first impeachment complaint. The first impeachment complaint was December of 2024. It will be 1 year by December 2025. So at the end of December 2025, the House can refile the same impeachment
The same.
articles.
Yung pareho, kahit pareho lang.
Yes,
Yun to.
because they have assuming that they will get the same number, at least 1/3, that will be the articles of impeachment that will be submitted to the Senate. Because we're about that 1 year period is about to expire.
All right. Now, Representative Laila De Lima said her concern with the Supreme Court's directive to Congress is the Senate can use this, she says, out of judicial courtesy to the Supreme Court. The the impeachment court can say, let's hold off the impeachment first and wait for the Supreme Court to resolve the issue that's raised in those two petitions, right? So it won't be moot and academic. What are your thoughts? While the Supreme Court hasn't yet made a decision, De Lima says the Senate can use this and say, let's hold it off first.
Well, it will be up to the majority of the Senate as an impeachment court whether to proceed or not while awaiting the Supreme Court decision. If they want to proceed, they can, because there is no temporary restraining order. Normally, unless there is a restraining order, you should proceed.
Now, does the impeachment court have the power to dismiss? Under the Constitution, right? The impeachment court has the sole power to try and decide. So it being a court, some have made the argument that they can actually not file a petition, but
they can dismiss it.
They can dismiss it if those that come in question the jurisdiction of crossing two Congresses. Because you have more supporters now.
My opinion, Karen, is because the Supreme Court says when the articles of impeachment are received by the Senate, the trial in the Senate shall proceed forthwith. They have no choice but to proceed with the trial, because it is assumed that the House, having filed the articles of impeachment, they have the required number of votes, then the trial should proceed. That's the intention of the Constitution, and the issue of jurisdiction can be part of the trial. It cannot be decided before the trial. In other words, it is an affirmative defense in the trial, but they cannot say that, let us decide first the jurisdiction.
Very good point. So what you're saying, the incoming 20th Congress, they have to take their oath, right? Ganun yun, they'll take their oath. Para kasi nakakonvene na ang impeachment court, they take their oath. And in the trial, that becomes a matter for the defense to take up.
Yes.
Pwede yun.
Yes, they can do that, but they have to have a trial first. Because
like the ICC, the defense is bringing up jurisdiction, pwede ring i-bring up ng defense yun.
Yes, but this is very unique because the Supreme Court says once the articles of impeachment are received, the trial by the Senate shall forthwith proceed. So there is no room for any other motion. When you file a motion to dismiss on the ground of jurisdiction, that is not a trial. You have to have a trial.
Tama. So you can bring up jurisdiction, but during the trial.
Yeah, part of the trial.
My trial. All right. Anything you'd like to add, Justice CARPIO, before we go? We've tackled so many topics today.
Yes, we have this concept of three equal branches of government. You have the executive, legislative, and the judiciary, and one really differs to the other. Like if there is an enrolled bill from the Congress to the President, that enrolled bill is given full faith and confidence that what they did was correct. Any question on attendance, on the voting, on the manner of voting, but not on the number of votes, will not be questioned anymore, because you do not any question on the intent of the parties, why they filed that will not be questioned. So here the Supreme Court is asking the House, please tell us if if you read the the members of the House who signed the articles of impeachment, did they read it? Did they understand it? I mean, you do not ask those questions anymore. The moment they sign, you give full faith and credit already that they read it. I mean, you do not say, you cannot ask each and every of the congressmen who signed the resolution or who signed the bill, did you read it when you sign it? I mean, when you sign, that means you read it. You have to give full faith and credit to that. We do not ask the members of the Supreme Court when they sign a decision, did you read the decision? No, we don't ask those questions anymore. I mean, out of respect to a co-equal branch, you don't ask those questions anymore.
Good.